This is WeatherScope.
The rain's falling in Southern California and more is on the way. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Dan Atkinson.
And I'm Paul Emick. In the east, a busy day. The roadways made even busier by plenty of wet weather. And for the Northeast, it is not over yet. Let's have a look at some of the action across the Northeast. And predominantly most of the country across the eastern half dealing with the wet weather tonight. Here's the southeast first of all. Here's a front. Now, the problem has been there's been no shortage of low-level moisture. Subtropical jet has just been bound and determined to keep the wet weather pushing into Florida. Now, this has been kind of kicking in across big chunks of the state, the Sunshine State. And it is kind of coming to an end, though, as the front moves in eventually. Kind of cleans all the moisture out of the way, and we'll deal with a better situation. The subtropical jet not given the supply there, supply and the demand. I guess the demand is for the better weather, and that's what's happening. You're going to see more of it. Tonight, we'll cover some of the rains across Florida. First, let's look at some of the rain into parts of Tennessee. Been kind of stormy at times around Knoxville, Chattanooga, and around Maryville. Also around Columbia, South Carolina, plenty of rain now. Cape Hatteras doing a little better tonight. We had some rain, of course, last night, a bit today, but Raleigh, some rain, and Norfolk, Hampton Roads, a little bit drier. South Florida, here we go. Look at this. Not much happening across most of the Sunshine State. Orlando, Haines City tonight, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, International Boulevard, great, no problems. Better weather on the way tomorrow, too, if you want to check out the attractions. Naples, bit of rain here south of Fort Myers. Toward Boca, just a taste of it there. Lauderdale, Miami, Homestead reporting rain. Even South Beach with a bit of rain. Out toward Key West, Duval Street a bit on the wet side tonight. Wet, but not as much in the way of lightning. Now, the lightning has been pushing off the leading edge of the rain pretty much way ahead of the front, has been moving on toward Grand Bahama Island now. You can see some of the white blotches there. That indicates lightning strikes about the last 10 minutes or so. So it's been pretty active with lightning and getting quieter here, not as much lightning even across Tennessee. Temps not bad either. 54 to Nashville. South Beach around 71 currently. 61 to Jacksonville, 59. Panama City. Northeast, a different set of problems. That will be rain and snow. We'll deal with that in the forecast, and you'll deal with it during the commute. At times, been a little freezing drizzle around Watertown, not showing up. Lebanon, New Hampshire, and northward, we've dealt with snow at times. Boston right now dealing with rain and lots of it. We can still have that around. Also toward JFK and LaGuardia. If you're heading to catch a plane, rain at the present time, even toward West Hampton, even throughout big chunks of Connecticut, lots and lots of rain now. With details on the action in the west, here's Dan.
Thanks, Paul. Another Pacific storm rolls into California. This time it's Southern California in the wet, and it is producing, as we take a look now at what looked like earlier today in Newport Beach, California, just south of Los Angeles. Rains caused flooding, making conditions miserable for driving or walking. Lightning and thunder were also part of this storm. Things should be pretty calm there now, but there is more on the way for Southern California in the next few hours. In particular, it looks as though San Diego may have the rumble of some thunder. The heavier rain for now is offshore, as we'll see on radar. There are some patches of light rain occurring over Southern California. Van Nuys reporting light rain, also Burbank and Sandburg, Carlsbad reporting some light rain. You can see the distinct counterclockwise swirl associated with the upper level low, which will be tracking its way toward the east and southeast, pushing the showers on across Southern California over the next 12 to 24 hours and beginning to move some wet weather in for you around Phoenix and eventually Albuquerque. But for now, it's patchy light rain, the lower elevations. The higher elevations, the mountains, say, of Ventura and Los Angeles counties, you could pick up 4 to 7 inches of snow above 5,000 feet. Right now, L.A., temperature 52 degrees. It's 32 in Denver. 28 degrees in Lander, 37 degrees in Billings. Generally dry across the northwest. We do have some light snow falling at Stampede Pass and also at Butte, Montana. In the Midwest, Chicago, cloudy and 40. No real problems, though, with fog at this hour, as has been the case over recent nights. You've got some drier air in place now at the surface, but you do have a lot of cloudiness blanketing much of the region. 35 and cloudy now in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Grand Island, 30 degrees. And there is a little bit of snow falling at, say, Marquette and Hancock from time to time as the winds come in across the Great Lakes, Lake Superior's warmer waters, giving up some moisture to the winds as they come in from the northeast at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So we're getting a little bit of lake effect snow. Otherwise, it's generally cloudy. And you can see particularly cloudy over the northern plains as a weak disturbance moves on toward the east. Paul?
It's official. As of today, the 1997 hurricane season is over. If you don't remember many hurricanes this year, that's because there were only a few, and El Nino may have played a part. In this special El Nino Focus report, we take a look back at the season and the possible effect El Nino had on hurricane activity. Here's Jim Cantore.
This is a special edition of El Nino Focus. Scenes like these were rare in the Atlantic tropical sector in 1997. The season was not as active as the previous two. The first storm to threaten the U.S. developed from a non-tropical weather system. On July 14th, it was a complex of thunderstorms just off the Louisiana coast. By the 17th, it became better organized and was upgraded to a tropical storm named Danny. Strengthening continued, and Danny became a hurricane, making its first landfall near Empire, Louisiana, Friday morning.
We check out a radar out of the region to show you the wet weather and really the fact that this hurricane is not moving very rapidly. That's really the crux of the matter here, because heavy, intense rainfall. You can see the bands with the eye at approximately in this position here, and the bands of heavy rain just wrapping around the center of the system, moving on into Alabama.
Danny reached maximum intensity with winds of 80 miles an hour as it moved slowly toward the Alabama. WeatherScope.
Well, the long holiday weekend is over as most of us brace for the Monday morning commute, and it's going to be especially rough in parts of the Northeast and New England. Hi, I'm Christine Abernathy. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Mike Seidel. You've also had a very wet Sunday in parts of California and Florida, but we'll begin with a look ahead to what promises to be a rocky commute for many of you in the Northeast. And this is because of a storm all gelling together, all the storminess forming one area of low pressure off the coast of Maine and Massachusetts, and as a result, wind, heavy snowfall, rain, but the wind will be the big problem for a lot of us, especially in the big cities, New York, Philly, and D.C. The storm moving into the Gulf of Maine, throwing moisture back into the cold air, and it will be a snowstorm. Bangor, you've got snow now. Portland, you'll see the changeover later on tonight. Heavier snow, so in northeastern Maine. Boston, maybe an inch or two, but again, the big problem will be the wind. We can't overemphasize how windy this system will be by midday tomorrow and by Monday afternoon. And we're talking about wind gusts to 50 to 60 miles an hour, and that will likely blow down some trees over power lines. So we could have some power outages from this storm. So stay tuned. Again, the wind will be a big problem on Monday. We're talking about a lot of wind. We're talking about snow in Maine. And we're also talking about the possibility of those winds gusting in excess of 50 miles an hour. There is a wind advisory out tonight for New York City as the storm continues to crank up tomorrow afternoon. We'll see that wind coming in from Canada, so it will be cooler. But again, outside of the wind, we are only really concerned about the snow in Maine and parts of Nova Scotia as the storm moves up through the Canadian Maritimes. Maybe a little bit of lake effect snow off Ontario and Erie, but again, you really won't have to be overly concerned about a whole lot of snowfall, and we don't expect any snowfall in New York or certainly Philadelphia down to D.C. and Baltimore. Again, it will be the wind which is the problem. Here's our storm. Cold northwest winds moving in. Temperatures now in the mid-30s in Burlington, 32, 33 in Albany, 42 in Boston. We've seen snow now changing over in Lebanon, New Hampshire as we move down the Connecticut River Valley. But look what's happening. The moisture is moving out as the cold air moves in, so that's why we're not really concerned about a lot of snow back in this area and even into New Hampshire, because as the moisture moves out, the temperatures will start to fall. You've got to have both of them in tandem to get it, obviously, the snow. But these areas, Portland, Bangor, Augusta, right up towards the New Brunswick area, will get snowfall. Rain continues tonight along and ahead of our front, moving in towards Baltimore and Philadelphia. A few sprinkles on the windshield. Once this moves on through, sunshine for Monday, but again, hold on to your hats. That wind chill will be a factor, and the wind's going to be blowing everything around that's not tied down. Here's the upper level support, a big spin in the atmosphere, a lot of cold air aloft. This will be zipping off to the east. This did lead to some severe weather Sunday afternoon. We had some hail in parts of western North Carolina, some severe weather around Nashville. Now, as this rotates through, a few more